We're taking stock this evening here on ENCA with Edward Kisvetter, the incoming SARS Commissioner. Would you consider an amnesty if things have got so bad that people have either through omission, commission, deliberately decided to defraud SARS? There is a period of time in which you can come clean. There may be a consequence, an economic consequence, but there won't be a criminal sanction. Let's clear the slate. Is it time for that?
So first of all, I think amnesty has the two sides to the coin, right? No one deserves an amnesty.
No.
Let me be clear about that, firstly. Secondly, it will never only be up to the Commissioner to decide an amnesty. It will always be in discussion with our Treasury colleagues, and because one has to be very mindful of the implications of that.
What is the implication of an amnesty? Because we've had many amnesties in the past, and if you keep having amnesties, well, then there's no incentive.
That's the point. The point is, people will say, well, if I miss this amnesty, I'll just wait for the next one, right? And in the meantime, I'll hope they don't catch me. So amnesties have downside consequences that may be unintended. So I don't think we start with giving wholesale amnesties. I think for us, it's about re-engaging. After restoring the internal credibility and trust and confidence, is to re-engage the public and to appeal to the better angels of our nature, and to amplify the message of why it's important to pay our taxes, why tax morality is important, because tax morality and tax compliance is a subset of our overall sense of compliance and civil obedience.
In an environment, however, where the state turned bad, the state turned on its people, became the gangster state, where it was like going to Pick and Pay and not paying for your groceries every single day. I don't know if you've seen the new book on Ace Magashule, for example, just published this last week. I mean, very clear indications that, hold on a second, but compliant taxpayers have been taken for a ride. It's a double-sided coin, this, surely.
No, sure, and one can understand why many people are disillusioned and, in fact, almost morally justify why, in defense of that which they've not received, in response to that, say, well, I'll just take care of this myself. I would argue against that.
Well, you'd have to, but you understand why people are cross.
I would, of course, and I think they're justified. And we let the Zondo Commission do their work, so that's not my job right now. But suffice it to say that I think there's legitimate reason. State capture was real. The hundreds of billions of rands that was siphoned off is material. It could have built so many homes, saved so many kids from falling into unnecessary pit latrine toilets, so many clinics. So let's not beat about the bush, because I think to be in denial about that amplifies and exacerbates our problems. So I'm clear where I stand as an ordinary South African, that state capture was unacceptable, and we must do everything in our power to ensure that those who perpetrated it, who were driven by greed and crass materialism, must come to book. Don't ever doubt where I stand on that. But at the same time, you know, if you went into a situation with your own kids, Bruce, and negotiated that they caught you smoking scalumpies while you told your wife you're going to give up smoking, and now they say, Dad, you know, so can we also do a scallum smoke of sorts? You're not going to allow that, because one bad thing doesn't necessarily justify another bad thing, because then it becomes systemic.
Yeah.
And soon
is it not already systemic?
Well, that sadly it is. But you know, we need to begin this journey that our president leads of rebuilding South Africa. And he did this with the Stuma Mina call, saying that it's not just up to him, it's up to all of us. I think slowly, one step at a time, one appointment at a time, each of us. You know, I am known to have said that when you walk into a dark room, it doesn't help to fight the darkness. Just light a candle. And so each of us, I'm coming in to light a candle that hopefully can grow into a bright light that will show us the good within us, but also highlight there where there is bad. So I have to counter, not just as the new commissioner, but just as an ordinary South African, that anyone who promotes a tax revolt doesn't have the interest of South Africa at heart.
Have you picked up the phone to Helen Zille and said to her, please stop that?
I haven't. I mean, I don't have a phone number, but I will engage with many, many public office bearers and explain to them why they need to be part of changing this culture of compliance.
I mean, the first tax revolt, arguably, was the e-tolls revolt, where people just went, we will not get Etags. Do you have an Etag?
So
do you have an Etag?
Well, I don't have an Etag. I pay mine, online. So the point that I want to make, though, is that whether it's e-tags, e-tolls, whether we speed in an area because we think there's no camera, non-compliance and civil breakdown starts in small ways, right? And none of us are angels or saints. But the least we can do when we look into the mirror is own up to our own faults and also make a commitment to ourselves that we want to be the change we wish to see.
That's very nice.
Otherwise, it's hollow words.
Yeah, and we've got to start somewhere. I mean, do you feel like the state is making progress? We're going to a fraught and fractious election, and I don't expect you to comment on the politics of this, but the president is potentially vulnerable from within his own party. South Africans are deeply suspicious of the political landscape in South Africa. You're taking over a week before a general election, which may change everything or nothing. Why must South Africans have faith in the political process? Because the political process is where the problem starts.
So the political process is the process we have, right? And maybe in the future we can redesign and modernize that. But it is what we have. And none of us can afford to be indifferent to it, okay? Because I think we give ourselves the moral authority to stand up, to express our discontent. And again, I have no hesitation to say that we must hold our public officials to account. If the mayor has a budget, go online, see what the expenditure commitment is, and stamp with your feet. Ask, why has this not been delivered? Go to your regional council representatives. And I think, how did we overcome apartheid? We overcame it because ordinary men and women stood up to it. How did state capture, was it exposed in the last number of years? Because South Africans took to the streets.
But we're now at a point where, would you agree, we have effectively a state of economic emergency?
We do have economic emergency, but we also still have many well-functioning cogs in this economy of ours. And I believe that, since the inauguration of President Ramaphosa just 15 months ago, we've begun to see small but significant steps to turn the tide. I think the 8th of May will be another significant step, and I am very positive that, but it starts with the way we think about this. When we all become filled with despair and we all go home and say, this is nothing going to change, then we may as well switch off the lights.
As South Africans, I mean, we tend to treat things like tax compliance in the same way as we treat red lights at intersections, as a suggestion. When as the new SARS commissioner, does the suggestion turn into tough action? Are you a tough SARS commissioner?
People tell me that I have this warm smile, and I'd like to believe that being tough and being even-handed and being fair are necessary attributes of a SARS commission. That doesn't mean we become people that are intimidating or people that you must fear, but we take the job seriously. And where we need to be tough, we will be tough. But at the same time, we need to show care, we need to show genuine interest. And so the role that we can play by collecting our taxes is we create the opportunity for service delivery to reach the most vulnerable in society.
And part of that, of course, is ensuring that more people pay their share of tax. In the same way as many South Africans feel very strongly about the cigarette smuggler who dodges the excise duty, who comes through and doesn't pay any tax at all, and somehow slips through the SARS net. How does Edward Kieswetter close that net on your neighbour, who earns only a meagre salary in their job, but somehow drives the Bugatti? How does that happen? And how do you help Edward Kieswetter clamp down on that guy without him finding out, of course, in a moment?